I think it's an outstanding success for day one. Is it working? And away. It's working perfect.
This is an automatic bell for my dad's bicycle. I joined him the other day on his daily trip around the lake, and I couldn't help notice as I was cruising behind him how many times he had to ring his bell because there was just so many people on the track. Naturally, the inner engineer in me just thought, why has this not been automated? So I headed home, hopped into the workshop and got thinking. I figured if I was going to make this work, I would need to use AI. And to use AI without making myself cry, I was probably going to want to use a Raspberry Pi rather than an Arduino. So I dug out an old screen, an old Raspberry Pi. I sat down to check if it still worked, only to remember I need an old school keyboard. Shit, happens every time. So I found my old gaming keyboard. I remember the day I got this thing, I thought I was the best gamer in the world. Then I consulted Ruby the dog, and she told me that if I was going to make this work, I'd need a bell off an old bicycle. So I went hunting around under the house and found one of Dad's old bikes. Perfect. I pulled it off, I took it back to the workbench for some surgery, and Ruby gave the project the go-ahead. But we needed a motor, so I searched the deepest place on Earth that I know of, and after striking oil, I also found a motor. I grabbed a microcontroller that was nearby and checked that it could run the motor. Yeah, I later found out that I was really lucky not to fry the microcontroller. So this piece here is the magic. You can see these metal washers are free to move outward. So when this piece is exposed to a centrifugal force, the washers go outward and clip that small dent on the side of the bell, causing the ding. Centrifugal force is the outward pulling force that an object experiences from the center of rotation. So if you think about this pen attached to this bolt, as the bolt spins around the pen, it's experiencing an outward pulling force, and this is centrifugal force. The bolt actually wants to keep going forward, but because it's attached to the pen, it has no choice but to go around the pen, causing that outward force. Next, we need a camera for the Raspberry Pi. I checked my local electronics store and found just what I need. So the next morning, I headed down to the store to get one. So that was an extremely unsuccessful trip to JCar. They didn't have pretty much anything I wanted except some AA batteries. But they were $3 for like 20, so can't complain. I think I'm gonna have to go online and have a look around for the parts that I want and just have to wait a few days. But we can start looking at the next project in the meantime, or even write the code up. Later that day, I dragged the girlfriend past the other JCar store and she convinced me that I needed a 3D printer. Hey, that was not my decision.
And then it makes it.
We also bought a webcam as a substitute to the camera that I was hoping to get. Not perfect, but it would do the trick.
That's what you got there.
You're like, so I had a coffee this morning.
We walked in to find that Dad had been making some seriously future mods to his bicycle while we were gone.
This would be sick if we build into the back of the thing. Into the back of the helmet. I'll just like read it up the cut. It's like, yeah, it'll take 2 seconds to assemble. I'm looking at a lot of parts in here.
To be fair, this is the new one.
Yeah, this is
It's different.
right.
And you get stickers.
Yes. Go on the back of my car. Make sure I run those out.
3D print. People just start flipping off the car. Free game. That's...
5 pacing machine. Do you reckon Ruby excited as well?
We got everything set up and Ella found a model for our first attempt at 3D printing.
Yeah. We'll start with a hand. And then after that, we'll do a couple of a tiny little tube. It'll probably take 10 seconds to print. We're going to start with a hand. Anyway. Hey, it was flawless. It only took 7 hours to print. Next up was a coupler. Something like this at the shop cost about $35, so it felt pretty good to know the printer was quickly paying itself off. Attempted the first part, which was meant to slot onto the motor to increase the size, but this is meant to be a 3mm diameter, and I modeled a 3mm radius, so a 6mm diameter shaft and larger. So now the new one's printing.
So I printed off another coupler, and I'm sure all you 3D gurus are thinking, man, that thing is gonna snap. And yeah, it snapped. After quickly getting tired of my laziness, I spent a little longer and modeled the whole antenna thing. This meant we only had one piece now. Oh yeah, and Gary the Gecko, he was in the doghouse with the missus, so he came by to hang out and see what all the fuss was about. And there it was, the bell thingy, reborn. But the shaft was still a little bit weak and some areas didn't print so well. So I added some supports to the model, made it a little bit chunkier and printed it again. Finally, it was looking great. We just had to bore out the shaft a little bit more to get that snug fit across the motor. Great success. So the next thing was to see what we can do with the webcam. I stripped it back to see how it worked, and then I modeled a housing for it and the motor and got the 3D printer cranking again. This model took about 2 hours to print. The camera didn't quite fit. No surprises there, I was using a ruler to try and measure it rather than calipers. Maybe if you guys subscribe, I could afford some sponsors and then I can buy some basic tools. Just saying. To solve this one, I just got this whizzer thing out and whizzed it until the camera fit in the hole. Like a glove. Now to see how it looks. Well, it was blurry, and I had no idea why. Basic human instinct that goes back to the time of the Neanderthals told me maybe if I just turned the camera, it would come to focus. And what do you know? It worked. We got lucky. Now we can get a glimpse of what the unit will look like once I hot glue the absolute shit out of it. I love hot glue. The camera cable was annoyingly long though, so I butchered it just the right amount. Can we fast forward that bit? I don't want them to see the solder job I did on that one. Now, I really didn't think this thing was gonna work again.
Fingers crossed. She's alive.
But once again, we got lucky, and it worked. Remember when I said earlier that I learnt later that I shouldn't have connected the motor directly to the microcontroller?
I just nuked it. Oops.
This is later. Luckily, it only restarted the Raspberry Pi and didn't fry it. There was a lot of luck in this project. So back to my favorite place on earth to get something called a motor driver. This makes sure stuff doesn't blow up.
So after a few hurdles, I ran down to the shop and got this little driver for the motor to make sure I don't blow the Raspberry Pi up. And I just connected it to the housing and the motor. I've just written a little script I can do here now. Just put the bell on, put the little thingy in. Run the script, you'll see it go ding, but I have to maybe run it a bit longer so it gets a good ding.
As I said earlier, time to hot glue the absolute shit out of it. I love hot glue.
After all this time, we've got everything glued together, and now we can check out if the test script will make it ding. Nice, it didn't work. I can hear it clicking. I don't see any movement. Okay, so all it is that the prop is down too much. There's too much friction on the prop to the bell. There we go. Go a bit more aggressive with this. That's better. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now we can get into the machine learning. Yeah, baby.
I went to the TensorFlow website to find some pre-trained AI models that I could use to recognize humans. CocoSD, a model that recognizes 80 different objects, the first one being a human. That'll do.
87% chance that there's a person in this image. Hell yeah, and a bicycle. I don't know where the fuck the bicycle is.
Once I tested the model, I wrote some code to periodically take a photo and ring the bell if there was a person in the photo. I then blocked the camera and it didn't ring. Version 1 complete. Time to see what the boss thinks. If you'd like to see the code, let me know and I'll upload it and share a link.
Alright, what's going on? Oh, that's the bell.
If I point it that way, it won't ring. Bring it back here. Maybe.
So a few final touches just to keep everything together, and then we headed down the lake for Dad's daily ride. But this time he was equipped with ding, the latest in push bike technology. We taped the living daylights out of ding to keep it as secure as possible. A happy Tony, proud to rock his latest tech.
At ding.com.
A low price of $200 per unit. Oh, standard Australia, we've had rain, hail and shine all in one day, so I'm not sure if there's actually anyone walking here today. It's usually boatloads of people. Boatloads of people. I think that it caught the biker then, hey, not the old guy.
So it wasn't a great day at the lake that day. The weather was pretty bad, so there wasn't many people out. And for some reason, everyone was walking the wrong way around the lake.
Problem is, he was looking straight at you. Yeah, I was just about to say, they're all walking the wrong direction.
We probably could have just rode the other way.
Dingless.
Maybe needs a reboot.
I see the same. I recognise a couple of the ducks over near H2O.
Regular ducks.
Yeah. It's not working.
It takes like a minute.
And away.
That was good, that guy that was looking at you knew you were coming. Oh yeah?
Anyway, the wind made the footage really noisy and terrible, so instead we planned to head out again the next morning.
I'm exhausted. I've been dinging all afternoon.
So that evening I added some small changes to the code. Some basic error handling because we noticed that sometimes it would just die
It's not working.
for no apparent reason. So I put a band-aid over that one. I also increased the ding time to 800 milliseconds from 200 milliseconds. So this made it far more aggressive.
On your phone and played it back and see what it sounded like. See how close you can get to the real dinging electronically. Did you hear how much Kyle and Jackie O got for a 10-year?
That was so good.
Just got everyone. It works at about 15 k's an hour. More than that, it seems to be a bit delayed in its response.
So it's working pretty damn well. The only issue we're having is there's too many people on this path.
AI of me deliberately setting it off so it learns from when I
Oh, you want to train the model yourself.
train the model yourself. So
Pretty smart.
if you see it,
We just tap it in to listen to when it actually hears this one.
well,
And every time it does that, it trains
or
trains it.
press a button or something. But that scenario is when it needs to go off.
It's a good idea. V2. You're gonna have to do a lot of laps. Usually you need hundreds of thousands of samples.
Program it for every track in the world. You don't have to ride every track in the world.
I'll leave it up to you.
Well, that's a tax cut.
You didn't ding.
We just rebooted it, so
I was going to say you didn't ding.
it didn't actually go off. It's been going off like mad.
Ah, no one else has dinged at past me, let me tell you. They've all been flying past, they've nearly been knocked over twice.
I'm not happy about bicycles nearly hit now.
Working perfect. Here we go. Need to get one coming. I think it's an outstanding success for day one.
Version 1.
That's like I said, sometimes you don't always get the spot.
A good spot.
Yes, he's out of the routine.
Well, mate, if
Make
it's
it
a success and you can get them sold worldwide, you can live in that house.
If you made it this far and you want to see some other cool things that I've built, like this live thumbnail that updates itself, hit the subscribe button. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any crazy ideas you'd like to see me make.